Good morning, Benita from Knitting in the Mitten, and it's time for the morning garden check. So for anyone who's interested, I'll show you what's growing in my garden. There are some little Redkuri squash. They're not red yet, but I guess someday they will be. So they are growing. There's a few of them. They're hard to show you. But they're climbing up the trellis that Anne made, so I have to guide them a bit, but that's all right. The spaghetti squash are climbing even more. Again, I do guide them a little bit. I have some Velcro gardening tape that I use to show them where they're supposed to go. Yesterday I did see a little tiny, what I hope is a spaghetti squash. The butternut squash really like this spot. Unfortunately, they do vine, and so they're going to quickly outgrow this bed, which I knew would happen. I think what I'm going to do is, as they get closer to the fence, I might try to tie them up to the poles here and guide them that way, because maybe that would be strong enough to hold some butternut squash. This deer fencing probably isn't strong enough, and some of them will just have to grow on the ground. So again, this is all an experiment this year with a raised bed for butternut squash. There's some time. This bean tower is coming along. The beans are starting to climb, so yes, I bought the right kind of beans this year. And there's my carrots. I've been thinning them out. And two kinds of kale. I have been eating the kale. There's my onions. Look at those cute little blooms on the top. I think those are adorable. The strawberries, I've been getting almost a pint of strawberries every day, but they are probably winding down. I did pick 5 stalks of asparagus this morning, which I didn't see any yesterday because, as you know, they grow really fast. This bean tower is doing even better. My mom said we're in a contest to see whose beans will get to the top of their tower first. Mine's pretty close. So there should be lots of green beans to eat and to stick in the freezer this year. My freezer is already full, so it's going to be a challenge. Here's my red Auric, and I don't know why that plant is so tiny, but all the rest are growing really big. And I think at some point I'm going to have to top them off so they don't get much taller. I read you should let them grow to about 3 feet, which is probably not quite yet. So I have been eating these leaves with the kale and my mom's lettuce. So with kale you cut the ribs out, and I've been doing that with a little bit with the red Auric. There's a squash plant that's pretty happy. This tomato plant, I just let it do its thing. I did not prune it like you're supposed to, because again, I like to experiment. So I have been pruning a little bit, but it's kind of straggly. It just does whatever it wants to do. These I have been pruning, so you'll see that in the little crook there, I've been breaking off anything that grows in the little crook. So that way it gives energy to the tomatoes and it grows taller instead of bushier. So there's lots of flowers on these. These 2 plants here are called Big Zack, and they've got lots of flowers, but I haven't seen any tomatoes on those yet. But I will show you tomatoes on the Early Girl. These are cherry tomatoes. Again, I haven't seen tomatoes yet, but they look pretty happy. These are my mom's beets and her carrots and her cucumbers. There's a couple pumpkin plants and a couple more butternut squash. They're much smaller than the ones in the big raised bed. I picked some of my garlic scapes and I let my neighbor pick some. So as you can see, they are cut off. I like to just pull them out. And there's some tomatoes growing over here. Those are Early Girls, and they are looking good. So those will be the first tomatoes. See, this is something I need to pull out here. This little thing right here, so that it doesn't grow any bigger. And there's some more tomatoes over there. There are some raspberries growing. Most of my raspberries are black, what I call black cap raspberries. They're very tiny black ones. Or there's actually a lot of yellow ones too, yellow raspberries. And a few red ones, which are my favorite ones. And there's blackberries growing. So that is super exciting. And I also have poison ivy. Yeah, that's not good because, as you might know, I'm really allergic to it. So I'm gonna have to put on my long black rubber gloves and pull some out because I don't need that by my raspberries.